Okay, for this project, I'll be using Screencast-O-Matic. And with this project, I'll be using a PowerPoint with some pictures as well as simple bullet points to kind of tell the tale of Vladik in the book Mouse, as well as the journey of what a Polish Jew probably would have went through during World War II. The first picture I show is just the Star of David, just showing what they had to wear after the Nuremberg laws were passed. We're actually going to start out with where the story kind of Vladik takes place. It happened in 1939 is when Germany decides to invade Poland. So what happened was Poland was attacked by both the Soviet Union and Germany. They had a secret non-aggression act where Germany decided we're not going to attack Russia or the Soviet Union, and the Soviet Union's not going to attack Germany. And they were going to split Poland pretty much in half. So Poland stood absolutely no chance. They knew they were going to get invaded, but didn't do a very good job of mustering up the troops. There's also a famous scenario where Poland actually used a cavalry charge with horses against German tanks. As you probably know, that did not turn out too well, and Poland was just slaughtered. Vladik was sent to the front lines where he ended up being captured and sent to a POW camp. The war with Poland probably only lasted about 2 weeks, and pretty much Germany and Russia made it all the way to Warsaw, the capital. As we see with the map, you have Poland and the Russia or the Soviet Union and Germany attacking both sides. They stood no chance. We're going to travel back a little bit in time from when Germany invaded Poland, and we're going to go back to 1935. This is when Germany and Hitler passed the Nuremberg laws. They were basically just laws that restricted Jewish citizenship, restricted Jewish access to Germany. Some of the laws which we discussed in class was stripped Jews of all nationality of Germany. They weren't citizens. They also couldn't marry non-Jewish people. They couldn't travel without papers. So they had to have papers. They had to wear the Star of David. So basically, they got sent back to the Middle Ages, just as what this paper said. So America, England, we knew what Germany was doing with the Nuremberg laws, but unfortunately, at that same time, we had kind of to fight a war, a little bit more problems happened. So once Germany invaded Poland, the same ideals were used. Just as Vladik in the book, his business was taken over by a German natural citizen. He couldn't do anything. So he ended up bartering a lot to make a living. So then life after German invasion. At the start, like when Vladik gets back from POW camp, it wasn't bad. It definitely wasn't good though. So yes, he lost his business. He couldn't do business, but he could always barter, and this is what saved his life. What he did was he took jewelry, rings, things of important value, and just kind of stashed them away. He also had his accounts payable, some debt he knew was owed to him. He went to those people, got cloth to make clothes, got food, extra food for his family, to try to barter his way to make a living. And he's actually a very successful businessman in getting that done. But unfortunately, things always got worse. They always said, oh, the war's not going to last that long. We'll be able to survive. Unfortunately, they didn't act like that. The war lasted for a while, and things only got worse for Jews. See this picture. This is probably after, definitely after Germany invaded Poland, but pretty early on in the occupation. You can kind of tell that just because they seem to be kind of a happy situation. They're kind of joking around. Nothing bad's really happening in this photo. You can kind of see a little smile on this man's face. So they always said, it's not bad, definitely not good, it can't get worse. And then it got worse. What happened was the Nazis sent the Jews to things called ghettos. There are at least 1,000 ghettos in Poland. And they're kind of like just a place where they sent some nationality, such as Jews, to live, sectioned off parts of the city. Some were like prison, some weren't. The most famous ghetto was in Warsaw, which was just like a prison. It was very hard to live in. There's one way in, one way out, or checkpoints in every way that could be in. And you had papers to go out. Inside these ghettos, you had work papers in order to work. And Vladik just like in his, was able to get work papers to work in a tin shop, shoe shop, just so he could survive. And he didn't really work, he just kind of watched and learned, which actually helped him out later when he was in the concentration camps. And this led to some hiding places in the ghettos, because again, things only got worse. They started relocating Jews to concentration camps. They started on old and disabled Jews, and then eventually moved on to everybody. So what happened was, they didn't really know for sure what's happening at these concentration camps. They just knew they weren't hearing from their friends and family again once they went. So of course, they did not want to go to these concentration camps. So they started making fake walls, fake rooms, attics. Vladek hid it in an old coal room. Pretty much anywhere they could hide, they hid. If they found some friends, some Polish friends that would hide them, they did their best. They sent their kids away. They did everything they can to try to not go to concentration camps. So in these photos, as you can see, on the left you got Anne Frank's house. On a side note, I actually visited this. I actually wasn't too impressed. It was the most modern building on that block. A good tour inside, but just not what I was expecting outside. To get back on track, Anne Frank lived in an attic, hid behind some fake walls. Unfortunately, didn't survive the war. The picture off the right has some kids that decided to wall themselves in at Warsaw. They actually survived the deportation of all the Jews. They ended up surviving the Warsaw Uprising, which was when the Jews decided to fight back. They'd much rather die fighting and then get sent to concentration camps. So they actually walled themselves in and kind of plastered themselves in there so they wouldn't be detected. Finally, we're going to get to the deportation of Jews. So what happened was, they were basically just packed like sardines, cattle, onto this train. They couldn't go anywhere. They were stuck in this train for days in at a time. Just like on page 87 on the second Mouse book, people died standing up. They couldn't even fall down to die. If they did fall down, they were just trampled on to try to get to the places that had most air. Nobody knew their exact destination, but they had an idea they were going to a concentration camp. And they knew very well that where they're going was not going to be good. This is just a map showing the concentration camps and death camps that happened in Nazi-occupied Germany as well as Poland. As you can see, in the green was the work camps. Yes, a lot of people did die here. A lot of Jews were sent here to work, but they weren't the worst. The worst ones were in the red. These are the death camps. These were the Jews, gypsies, political prisoners got sent to be exterminated, part of the final solution. No one was supposed to come out of these camps alive. So once Vladek got sent, or a Jew got sent to Auschwitz, Birkenau, pardon me on the pronunciation of that, they first got off the train and were lined up for selection. If you got sent to one side, you could work. That was the good side at the time. Got sent to the other side, you couldn't work, and were undesirable. Unfortunately, you sent right to the gas chamber. You didn't even have a shot. You pretty much died, went up to the ovens afterwards, and were never heard from again. And then you got work. So basically went selection, work, selection, work. The work consisted of the kind of desirable jobs of being in the kitchen, working like Vladek did in the shoe shop, in the tin foundry, kind of things like that. You didn't want to be sent outside the camp to work. The odds are not many of you guys are going to be coming back. They would overwork you to death outside there. If you weren't working fast enough, they'll just kill you, because that was the goal of these camps, was just to exterminate all the Jews living there. So daily life was just kind of about survival, of trying to find hope. Vladek found hope by writing letters to his wife and to try to survive. If you were unfortunate enough to be sent to the gas chambers, they used a gas called Zyklon B. It was actually a pesticide, and the gas chambers were made to look like showers. So they were undressed, told they were going to take a shower, and then the gas was sent in. Unfortunately, Zyklon B could actually take up to 30 minutes to kill somebody. So some of these people that got sent to gas chambers weren't killed by the gas. They were actually just suffocated to death, crushed to death by people trying to escape to the doors. They were then sent to the ovens after their death and cremated to try to erase any evidence of what happened. Later on in the war, they ended up making mass graves where they were just simply shoot you, you're falling in the mass grave, and they'll cover you up. None of this was good, and as you can see by this picture right here, this is just a canister of Zyklon B of what would be used in the camps, and then some American soldiers discovering the gas chambers and the cremation ovens and just being horrified by it. Just like Vladik was lucky enough to survive the war, if you were lucky enough to make it to liberation, you're one of the lucky few. The Allies knew that there were prisoner camps, POW camps, and concentration camps, but they did not know the severity of the situation. The first liberation was in 1944, and Auschwitz was liberated in early 1945. The Russians actually liberated Auschwitz and were just horrified. The Allies were horrified what they would find. And this photo shows some concentration camp survivors celebrating their liberation. What actually happened is some of them were actually just killed right after liberation just because they overate themselves to death. They were getting food they weren't used to and just ate too much, drank too much, and literally ate themselves to death. So they had kind of be weaned into a healthy diet. This wasn't the end, however, for the Jews. After the war, just like Vladik relocated to the United States, many Jews relocated. After the war, there's a case for the own Jewish nation of Israel. The UN discussed and gave it their homeland in the Middle East. As you know by now, that was highly contested. The Jews in Israel fought a new war against the Palestinians, and there are still heated skirmishes happening now between the two nations. However, many located to other nations in North America, such as the United States and Canada, other nations in Europe, they just wanted to get to their new lives right away. Because when they went home, many of them didn't have their businesses that they started out with. They were taken over by the Polish, and many of the prejudiced ideals still lasted in Poland at the time after the war. They still didn't feel like they belonged. So many longed to go to their own nation of Israel, which was just founded, or end up being relocated and find other jobs and livelihoods in America. This concludes my project on the Screencast-O-Matic, and I hope you enjoyed it.